I am not much of a video game player as much as I used to be. When I was like an adolescent. See, as a matter of fact, I couldn't tell you the last time I even played a video game because it's just been so long, since like my early 20s. See, like these days, I have just become so involved with my, taste of music and movies that I've just lost interest in most video games. That and the fact that most modern video games are just all the same. They're basically repeats of one game after another. It's just all the same. And I guess I just grew disillusioned with it, and I thought I'd just move on from it. But back when I was like in like my teen years and my like early 20s, I played quite a few video games. I played like Devil May Cry, Blood Rain, but I was a huge fan of the Grand Theft Auto series. Especially like Vice City and San Andreas and Liberty City Stories. Those were my three favorite GTA games. Two of them that I beat. I had some. It took me a while for me to beat San Andreas, but I think I got through it. But that was a long time ago. But I was also a fan of the Tony Hawk games. Particularly the later games. Tony Hawk Underground, which to most people it's just called Thug. Like there's two of Tony Hawk Underground games. Like I used to play those, back when I was like 14, and I basically beat both games. And I remember there was like a ton of songs in like both game entries. Like they had like numerous like punk rock songs. Well, I mean not just punk, but like they had like alternative hip hop and some hard rock, but it was mostly just punk. Like it ranged from like older punk to newer modern hardcore punk. Like there was in number one there was like Dropkick Murphys, Alkaline Trio, NoFX, but there was other rock groups like Queens of the Stone Age, where their song Millionaire was in the first one, and the second one had just as much songs as it did in the first one. Like there was, songs from Less Than Jake to there was even Faith No More's Midlife Crisis. That song was in that game, and there was a ton of songs that were in that game as well. Just just to get in like the skate mode. Just songs that sounded appropriate for a skating game, shit like that. And this was another band that one of their songs appeared in Tony Hawk Underground 2, and this is a band called the HISS. This is a garage rock group from the early 2000s. This is their album Panic Movement. It was released in 2003 under Polydor LTD, their record label. And their song Back on the Radio was the one that, which is track number 4 off this album. That song was the one that appeared in Thug 2. And I was shopping at Half Price Books in Schaumburg, and I was looking through the used CD rack, the clearance section, and this was like one of them that I came across that day. I right away I like recognized the title of the band because their song "Back on the Radio" appeared on that video game, and I am like really glad that I bought this album because I placed it on my. I listened to this on my stereo just like a month ago, and it is. I love their sound. I love their guitar sounding. Their instrument. Well, like in regards to like modern music, my main vice in regards to modern shit is probably like garage rock or garage punk. Like it's like modern garage rock would have to be called garage rock revival. Kind of like bands like Black Rebel Motorcycle Club or The Strokes. And there's like another band called Japan Droids. It's a rock duo. They're a bit they're described as heartland rock without the heart. I just read that on Facebook. But anyway, so this band has like a similar sound to Japan Droids and the other bands that I just mentioned, and this is like a massively underrated band, all because they've like released only 2 albums. When they were still together. Like they had another album, released in 2007. It was called Chocolate Hearts. And but that album was not as widely known as Panic Movement. And well, basically because like there wasn't any like singles that were on that album, or none that I can think of, because that album actually does not have a Wikipedia site. Like, if you look up this band, you can see that their album is highlighted. You can click on the title of their album on Wikipedia, and it shows you the site and the history beyond the album. But it does not show, like, the album Chocolate Hearts does not show anything, in regards to like history or the tracks that are on the album. So basically it is, appropriate to say that this band has, basically fallen into, obscurity. Like, but I personally enjoy listening to this album. The songs are awesome. They got Clever Kicks is another good song, which is track number 1. It's just as good as Back on the Radio, but I think Back on the Radio is probably one of their best songs off this album. But the whole album is just fantastic, very artistic. They're kind of like a mix between like psychedelic rock to like art rock and just all around garage rock. Just like, but, from what I read on the back cover, see, here's like original, this was like, originally $22.99, I guess, from like from what it says on like the front cover. It has like a Virgin label on it, which I guess was sold from a Virgin mega store, back in its day. But I found this for like $2 at Half Price Books, and I figured, add this one to my collection as well, because I fucking love garage rock. I just love like the low key sounds, like unlike most of the shit that they play on their... Like, I do like a lot of the stuff they play on the radio, but, most, like, garage rock, I would have to consider is, like, enormously underrated because, well, they're not, like, entirely mainstream. Like, although, bands like the Black Keys and the White Stripes. Those are examples of bands that have reached, you know, a mainstream category. And like a lot of hipsters basically hate them because they've become so mainstream. But I still pretty much enjoy the Black Keys and especially the White Stripes. I especially enjoy Jack White's solo act, you know, and his other bands, the Rockin' Tours, the fucking Dead Weather, and I just like him as a musician. And this band altogether kind of fits that category with, you know, the bands that I just mentioned. So, like, for those of you who are into, you know, a lot of garage rock or garage punk or garage rock revival, I should say, I would definitely give this one a try. I would definitely pick this album up. If you see it for like $1 or $2 at either Half Price Books or Goodwill or any other thrift store or normal record shop, I would seriously consider adding this to your CD collection. For those of you who still prefer physical media other than digital, like most of the world that we live in prefers. And I am not one of those people who prefer digital downloads, as you can see, you know, with all the other shit that I have showed you in previous videos. But so anyway, I would give this one a try, or you can look up their songs on YouTube. You know, Back on the Radio is actually their main single off this album, so it does have a music video to it. So if you come across it, just, you know, just give it a listen and, you know, think about whether you want to buy it, or you can just stream it if you want. But either way, I definitely recommend this. So, Panic Movement from the band The HISS, their album Panic Movement, released in 2003 through POLYDOR LTD. Their song originally from Tony Hawk Underground 2, as well as numerous other songs off that game. And but this is the band that I have just discussed. And like I said, I highly recommend it. And just, if you put it on your stereo, just rock out to it. And shit like that. Thanks for watching.